Welcome to the Sydney Property Muppets podcast. It's Kurt Lawther here. I'm a real estate agent, and with me forever, as always, is...
I've got to match that intensity. Chris Clarke, buyer's agent, or Chris Clarke, the buyer's agent anyway. So
6.5 out of 10. Chris will work on you.
Wow, your voice is, you've been projecting, you've been just practicing, gurgling, what's going on?
Just stop being a wimp, that's all.
Okay, you're scaring me though, just so you know.
Okay, I'll try and settle it down. But Chris, I've been seeing some social media of you. I've been seeing you posting some social media.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I know one of them was about a buying off market just before the end of the year. Did that work out well?
Overall, like it's always mix and match of sort of the time of year when you're buying. I was actually going to lead in and ask you actually today. I thought today we're heading into that Christmas period. I'm assuming for agents you get asked, when is the last time of the year they should be listing a property to sell? But then also, when's the best time in 2024, the start of the year for them to go?
Well, simple answer, just call my number, I'll sign an agency agreement with you. No, so...
money-grubbing agent.
Generally, actually, do you know what? I'll start with a story first. So there's someone I knew that wanted to sell, they were downsizing, and they called a couple of agents in. They'd been speaking to a couple, they chose their agent. They actually chose their second favourite.
Why would you choose your second favourite?
They very close. They came in. No, it wasn't to do with money. They were actually more expensive.
Right.
For whatever reasons they chose, I think it was just the last person that came in. They had some energy. I think they almost promised a buyer, or there's that it's a bit of talk there. Anyway, so they signed up thinking that they were going to launch in January.
So the client signed up an agency agreement, and they understand what they were going to list the property into January.
That was the understanding, the rough understanding.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Sounds like a good plan. This was just before Christmas.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, the next day, photos get taken.
Yeah, okay.
The next day, there's a signboard.
Signboard?
A signboard.
Okay, I can get over the signboard.
And it's on REA and Domain.
That's a no-no for me.
Right, I think, from memory last year, a few days before Christmas.
Yeah, wow. No, I'm definitely... You're not suggesting to do that, are you, Kurt?
No, that is not my recommendation. Not the signing up. Definitely sign up with an agent whenever. That does not matter. But my recommendation is generally, and it would have been my advice, is to wait to January. We can talk about when specifically. But over the Christmas time, unless a buyer, I guess you've got a buyer's agent, and they've got a hot buyer.
There's not a chance things going. So what happened? Did they end up selling? Did they get a good price, or did it take until February?
That property stayed on the market for a few months, and the unfortunate thing for these agents was because that didn't work out. Once we got into January, and that's also when interest rates people were uncertain.
Yep, of course.
It was just a very flat reception. It wasn't an auction campaign either, so it was just for sale.
Private tree, yep.
And all these things ended up racking up, and the person I knew ended up getting very disgruntled.
Yep.
Also, the agents didn't help themselves with the communication, yada, yada, yada. A few months later, the property gets pulled from the market.
And the agency agreement, is there a typical or standard period of time an agency agreement is valid for?
Yes, so the agency agreement is valid for 90 days.
So 3 months?
3 months.
So if you're signing up, sorry, one second, if you're going to sign mid-December, doesn't sound January, like basically you're saying you've got to sell it by the middle of March.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay.
Now, if you've got a very good relationship with the person, he's staying on top of everything, you can almost have
it positive, it'll continue on.
Generally, you can go 120. We try and, as agents, go 120 days, just so we don't get that. If the market is a little bit slower, the property's just not selling. You just don't have to worry about being like, look.
Factors in down time. It's interesting because last year, a client of mine, we've been looking, we're getting close to the Christmas period. We basically said, look, pull up stumps, and this happens over a year that agents like that they sign up a property with a vendor.
I was just going to quickly say, sales meeting that we've just recently had, it was talking about, we talk it as we lead into the final quarter, but having stuff ready to go for next year.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it, you're on the back foot.
Well, the plan is it's going to be listed in January, right? But even with that, as an agent, if you get the agreement, which talked about earlier, if you get the agreement signed up, what I saw last year, and I'm seeing it now, is off-market, or let's say pre-market. So these properties are going to be listed on the market sometime in January. They've got an agency agreement, but the agent obviously looks and goes, well, look, if I can work with buyer's agent or some known buyers in the database, we might be able to transact. And that's happened last year with a property. So we actually were introduced to a property, I think, on the 23rd, pre-market. It was going to be listed around the third week of January. We came and saw it. There was no one else looking at it, but there was no other buyers around. Everyone taking holidays and gone away.
Is that your preference, or do you like looking with other buyers?
Good question. No, it's something I think is obvious, but yeah, definitely I want to look by myself. I get there's competition out there, but we actually were able to spend a full week going back and forth. My client are bringing their mum, who's a single lady. She brought her mum in. Now see the third time. Really confident buying it. We ended up securing that property, and I'm pretty confident it's about $100,000 less than what it would have sold in January. But from the agent and the vendor standpoint, our offer was only good as what was happening in the market at that time. If they didn't take our offer, right, that's fine. If they wanted to wait 2 or 3 weeks for their campaign, we then would have had a lot of other properties to look at and see. We might have then retracted our offer and actually just secured something else. They took the bird in the hand, if you don't mind that analogy.
Yep.
So really good win. We probably saved, it was a $3 million house. We got it for 2.8. So it's 200. It was probably more like $100,000 saving, but great opportunity there for my client to get into something and then be able to move into next year with some confidence and even celebrate on New Year's Eve of all times.
Yes.
Tricky part was getting the solicitors all on board at that time, as you can probably imagine.
They weren't on holidays already, or mind on holidays.
Well, to be fair, 28th of December, I think everyone's allowed to be on holidays. You got to call some favours in for that one. So, all right, back to you, Kurt. So, what are some 2 or 3 things that you'd think of listing this time of year? When was the last time you should have listed property? Because it'll be November 2024 will come up. So, when's the last time you list? And then in January, when's the earliest or when's the right time?
So ideally early November, but latest back end of November.
Okay. So like the end of the 3rd week is what the last time?
Even the last week in November,
Okay,
as long as if you're doing an auction campaign, for me, we'll just say auction campaign, you've got 4 Saturdays, and the 4th Saturday is going to land
right towards Christmas time. What about January? Let's talk about the hot topic. January. When are we
January?
listing?
I personally second week of January. So
it's early. I'm sure people are listing going, that seems a bit early, but you're confident with that?
Confidence is because generally, as much as we say for people to take a break from REA, take a break from domain, have a little relaxing session, the stats show, at least from REA and domain as well, that is one of the most pent up times where people are looking on the app and they're ready to come out. We've done it with a couple of campaigns, a positive experience a couple of years ago. Campaign, we had hundreds of people come through the inspection and we got a fantastic price.
Yep.
And so, because you want to be selling when there's going to be lots of energy, but little competition.
Yeah. I'd actually agree that period of time. It does, for me, again, I go, as a novice, looking at it without outsiders, I'm sure it all sounds very, very early in the year, but I agree that pent-up buyers that were missed out or they've had the Christmas period decide they're going to buy, they're all in the market at one time. What's the guarantee that they're all going to be around, that same energy is going to be there 2 or 3 weeks later? No one has that. It might be better, but it also might not be.
Well, you got to remember as well, a campaign, if it's an auction campaign, there's at least 4 Saturdays. If you're starting second week in January, that auction's not going to be to very early Feb.
Yeah.
And we're already running into the year. There's going to then be lots of properties on definitely back end of January, and now you're in with competition.
Yeah, no. Look, I think it's a valid point. Hopefully that's crystal clear for everyone to take away in terms of the right time to sell as we approach that time of the year. We're heading now into our 3 quick Qs or 3 quick questions.
Yes. Quick explanation, Chris.
Yeah, we're trying to do the best we can. So basically 3 questions each, back and forth. We haven't told each other what we're asking. We try and keep the answers relatively short, maybe sort of 1 word if we can. And the 1 rule is?
There's no explanation. So
I did better last week.
You did so much better. I think I'm going to hit the ball rolling with this, Chris.
Go for it.
What would you prefer, buying late December or early January as a buyer's agent?
Have to pick one, don't I?
No explanation.
You said late December?
Late December or early January?
Late December.
Late December? Perfect.
After the new year, so we start to think, things start to build up in the market. When typically is the first part of next year that you will see the market slow? What's the occasion or event or holiday period that you typically see the market slow? Easter, Anzac Day?
Easter?
Easter. Okay.
Easter.
That's all right. Took a long time, that one.
You
Stitch
did.
on apparently.
As a buyer's agent, so just say you're a normal person, and you're
I try to be a normal person.
and you're approaching buyer's agents, and you've interviewed everyone, and they're going to do a full-scale campaign search for you. Who would you prefer to use? Someone that comes in nice and cheap at $10,000, or someone that goes the other end and is $35,000?
Neither. You can't let me defend, but can I just from this one occasion?
I'll let you off this.
I just think if you're focusing 100% on the price as your only determining factor, then you miss a trick. Would you choose an agent just on price? And we'll go into that. I'm sure you wouldn't want to just choose on price. So, no, for me, it's invalid as much as it's a valid question. And, I'm going to dodge that one a little bit, but
No, that's fair enough, because some people won't take this with a grain of salt, so I've got to make sure we're careful.
If you're a seller and you're looking to sell your property, what's the one thing you want to look out for or want to have in your conveyance or solicitor? The number one thing. You want to go, okay, they've got the recommendation, I know they have.
Experience.
Okay, cool. I thought that might be, I wasn't sure.
That was a good one. And yes, final question. What is your
second last one?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my final question. Always
Don't stitch me up.
Your favourite Kellogg's cereal? Kellogg's, like Nutri-Grain cornflakes. I think Rice Bubbles is Kellogg's.
Cocoa Pops. I think that's Kellogg's.
Is that Nestle?
It might be Nestle. Crunchy Nut, is that in there?
I'll give it to you.
Something sweet. Unfortunately, I usually go for muesli, so
I'm presuming it's Kellogg's because it's just cornflakes with a truck ton more sugar.
I'm sure, which we love. All right. What's one word to describe people who are always late to meetings?
Kurt Lawther.
Beautiful. Nice one. Okay, well, thank you all for listening. Appreciate your time and effort, and feel free to share, like, comment below. Love any topics. As you always say, our advice is general in nature. Let's always put that asterisk there, so speak to professionals.
We try and make it as accurate as we can, but we're speaking on the whole because we're trying to speak to everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Your situation is special and unique.
Thanks for listening.
Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week.